loved really doing these lessons because I've been doing extra research. I think I've shared that with you, just the podcast and other things. And it's just been so good, along with the Jesus book that we're doing. I feel like Jesus is constantly on my mind. He should be on my mind anyway. But I think I'm just a lot more, I'm reading a lot more information about Jesus and all that. And it was so funny. I wanted to share with you. I have an Alexa, that plays my music, and it's in the bathroom. So I'm always like, Alexa, turn on spa music, Alexa, do this. And the other day I was putting my makeup on and I went to say, Alexa, play Spa Pandora. And I said, Jesus, play. So I was funny. I'm like, yes, Jesus is definitely in the forefront of my mind, and, on my heart. So, and that's the way it should be. I thought that was really funny. But we're going to continue the story here. We're kind of following in Matthew, but we're going to go to the account in Mark today. So turn over to Mark 5. I got to put my notes up here so I'm not looking down all the time. So if we remember what we've talked about so far, we started in Matthew 8, we were talking about the man with leprosy, right? So Jesus came in, he healed the leper, which was an amazing story. And then he went on and healed, he went to Capernaum and healed the centurion, right? And that was an awesome story too. If we remember, they both had basic faith and humility. They called him Lord. That's what we learned, from that first story. Actually, I wanted to let you know, all the circles are on our website now. We lost the first one. We couldn't find it anywhere. It was out there somewhere. And Danny finally found it. So all the lessons, if you've missed some, you can go back and listen to. And then, of course, last week we talked about the storm. Think about that. So here they are in the middle of the water, and this storm comes in, and the Sea Galilee, and there could have been a 20-foot wave or 2 or 3, and just how, how frightening that would have been, and just all the lessons we learned from that. So today what we're going to do, if you remember, Jesus was going to the other side. So he was at Capernaum and he was going to the other side. So they get in the boat. That's where they have all the storm and all that. They were going to the other side for a reason. And the reason is pretty spectacular. So here we are in Mark 5, and I'm going to read it for you. And hopefully we're going to learn a lot together. It says, the healing of the demon-possessed man. They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an evil spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted out at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Swear to me that you won't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you evil spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send him out of the area. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the evil spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and the countryside. and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, "Go home to your family and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed. And this is a great story. It really is. And it starts off, they're going to the other side. So what's on the other side? This is the region of the Gerasenes. This is Gentile territory. Okay, this is the land of the cast out ones, says the Jews, the ones that they look down on, the unclean. This was not a motivating place for the Jews to go by any means. In fact, you stayed away. This is the area where you can get contaminated, right? And so basically, when you were going over there, you were going to be considered unclean. And unclean for three reasons. One, because you're coming in contact with the Gentiles, and this is just, even saying their name could just, make you unclean. But two, actually, let me back up. There's three reasons why Jesus came over there, and it was to touch this man, to impact this guy's life. But going over there, he was interfering, or coming in contact with a Gentile, someone who lived in a cemetery, and someone that was demon possessed. So basically going to the other side to meet this man and bringing along his disciples with them was not a good thing, right? And I want to give you a description of this man from all three accounts, okay? Because all three accounts, it's Matthew 8, Mark 5, and Luke 8, they all tell different little details. So I'm going to combine them. So it says that this man was naked. He lived in the tombs. For a long time, he had not lived in a home. So we do know at one point he did live in a home. We know that he was strong because this man is breaking chains with his hands and feet. So this man is strong. We know he's possessed by demons. And you think about this man was, if you try to picture him in your mind, he was dirty. He probably smelled. He probably had sores all over him. You think about breaking chains with your hands and feet. I'm sure his skin was broken up and he could have had infection, so it probably smelled, it's just, people probably made fun of this man. People obviously mistreated him because they would chain him, but they probably threw things at him. This man is an outcast. And I start just thinking about this man as I was researching this. I'm like, what got him to this point? Yeah, he was demon possessed, but what got him to that point even? And I started actually feeling sad for the man because I like, when it describes this guy as, running through, through the night, he would go through the countryside and in the tombs. And it says he would cry out and he would cut himself with stones. And I just thought, wow, this man is in a lot of pain. He really is. And I started to feel really sad about it. And I really wanted to know, more about him. I'm thinking, did something happen to this man, to get him to the point of being possessed by demons? Was he worshiping other gods? Did he just, was he into drugs or whatever, or follow just Satan worship? What was it about this man that had him in this condition? I thought about, where's his family? Because he does have a family. It mentions that in one of the other accounts. And so I started to feel really bad. Did something happen traumatic? Like, even, why is he living in the tombs? I think, yes, he's an outcast, but was there someone there? Maybe someone that he loved that had died. I just started thinking kind of outside the box. And we're not going to know these answers, unfortunately. Maybe when we get to heaven, we could get some of these answers and some of these stories. But the point is, Jesus came all the way across, brought his disciples with him through the storm, very risky, into Gentile territory. And I believe it was for this man. Actually, Matthew's account mentions there's 2 demon-possessed men, and there might have been two demon-possessed men, but the other gospel writers focus on this one. And I think it was because there's a purpose to this, that he has a story here. So you got this man, rough situation. And I love it because if you know the Psalms and a lot of the other scriptures, God is a God who loves people who are hurting and reaches out to people who are hurting. I think of some of my favorite scriptures. You don't need to turn there, but you can write it down. Psalm 56, verse 8. It talks about God collecting our tears on a scroll. One version says God collects our tears in a bottle. Isaiah 38, 1, he says, I've heard your prayers and I've seen your tears. Hagar in Genesis 16, an angel came as a messenger from God and said to her, the Lord has heard your misery. David in Psalm 6:6, I drenched my bed with tears. When Jesus went to Mary and Martha after Lazarus had died, Jesus wept because he saw them crying. And I just love this because, and there's other stories and other just Psalms that really kind of magnify that God is so moved by us crying out to him. And I think about God, watching this man cry out, run through the hills and, the tombs, and he's in so much pain that he's crying out and he's cutting himself. The Bible talks about there's not one bird that falls from the tree that God doesn't know about. And so I think there's not one tear that comes down our cheek that God doesn't know about. And I love that about God, because I think sometimes, we can go through a challenging time and we feel alone in our tears. We're like, no one even knows that I'm hurting this bad, right? God knows. God knows. He sees your every tear, especially if you're a daughter of his. Moms, a lot of us are moms. When we see our children crying, it cuts to the heart. I always say kid pain is the worst pain. When they're going through pain, whether it's a broken heart from a relationship or they're sick, you feel it very intensely. And we as daughters of God, when we hurt, he feels it intensely. And, some of these people here aren't even disciples or God's people, but yet God's heart, goes out to them. Okay, we're going to switch gears. And now we're going to talk about just the evil spirit, the evil spirits, the demons, right? When Jesus came into the picture, it says when the demon-possessed man, he says he saw Jesus, he ran, he fell on his knees, and he shouted at the top of his voice. He says, what do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? And what was interesting about that is the demon knew exactly who Jesus was, because the demons do believe in Jesus. So when I'm studying the Bible with people and they're like, all you got to do is believe to be saved. No, that's not true, because even the demons believe. In the book of James, it says even the demons believe. So that's not accurate. And we see right here The demon knew exactly who he was. Says, "You are Jesus, the Son of the Most High God." And then there was this panic. It's like, "Swear to God that you won't torture me." I mean, there was just this fear and this intensity, and basically they were scared that they were going to be thrown into the abyss, the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Matthew 5 talks about this. Matthew 5:41, at the final judgment, those who have not followed, God, along with that, they will be thrown into the eternal fire. And it says literally the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. And so they know this, but it's not yet judgment time, but they're scared to death. Oh no, it's here. And so they're begging, "Please, please, please don't send us into, the abyss." And so they beg, "Please, please, please, send us into the pigs." So they had this idea of, sending us into the pigs. But what was interesting is, Jesus asked them, "What is your name?" And I thought about this. I'm like, why is he asking them that? Is he trying to just show everybody around that how many demons are actually, possessing this man? I don't know. Could be, possibly. Actually, it was interesting because some people, some historians actually think, well, actually, they think he was talking to the man. And, they're wanting him to have his identity back, after the demons were out. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm kind of thinking and leaning towards that he's talking to the demons, and a lot of people seem to lean that way. So he says, "What is your name?" And then he says, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And many of us know this, but a legion actually was one of the largest units of the Roman army. And so that it actually consists of anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 soldiers. So that's a lot. So when you hear legion, it's thousands, okay? 3,000 to 6,000, that's a lot. That's a lot of demons, right? So he's like, they're like, "Please," they're begging him, "Please send us into the pigs." And so Jesus is like, "Okay." It says, so Jesus gave permission, which again just shows Jesus's authority over the evil spirits, right? So what happened here? It says they rushed down from the hillside. So imagine this. I'm a visual person. So imagine, you got this man, demons come out, and all of a sudden you see 2,000 pigs, and I'm sure if demons were in them, they were probably making all kinds of noises and, just chaos. And they all just come running down into the lake, and they were killed, right? What a crazy scene. Imagine being those who were tending, the herds. They're like, "What in the world is going on?" So anyway, so how did they respond? They really didn't like it too much, honestly. So they actually, the ones who were tending to them, they're like, "We're out of here." And so they ran into the town and just told the other people, what had happened, right? And so the other people are like, "What in the world?" Okay, Jesus is out there. All of a sudden, all the pigs drowned. It just sounds like a crazy situation, right? It is a crazy situation. So they came out, and what did they see? They saw the crazy demon-possessed man who was a hot mess, we all know from what we've learned. And they see this man sitting there. He was now dressed, because remember, he was naked and just dirty and all this. So here he is, clean himself up. He's dressed and in his right mind. It's like, what? How is this even possible? You hear the story about all the, the pigs drowning, but then you come and you see this man. How did they react? How would we react? We were like, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" it says they were afraid. Luke's accounts says, his account says they overcame with fear. They were so frightened by this situation, overcome with fear. They were so frightened by this situation that, they didn't want to hear more about this. They're like, you need to leave. Like, you need to leave now. Like, you need to get away from us. You think about that. Wow. They witnessed this amazing transformation with this man, right? They didn't want to know anything about it. And we see that a lot today. We hear about miracles. People hear about miracles all the time that Jesus is doing in their lives, right? But they're like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know it. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. And a lot of it, I believe, it's motivated by fear. These people like just go, go, go. And I think nowadays people are fearful of change. They're fearful of giving up their life, their comfort. We don't want to give up our time. We don't want to give up our money. We don't want to give up the pleasures. We don't want to give up our sins. Maybe our job keeps us from, seeking first God's kingdom or whatever. And, there's fear in that. There's fear in that. And fear can really keep us from experiencing the miracles. Another reason why they wanted Jesus, move on out of here, is because this was a financial loss. It's like, okay, they made money on these pigs, right? That was their income, and all of a sudden 2,000 are gone. And so this is a big problem, right? And so, Jesus could have killed, future pigs. And so they're like, you just need to go. And so I think we can learn a lesson from us, or from them. It's like, does fear hold us back from seeing amazing things? Are we scared to take the next step in our faith and give it all? We're coming into a new year. All of us look back, we've learned a lot from the last year, but we're into a new year. Are we willing to take the next step in our faith? Maybe get a little more risky, whether it's sharing our faith, spending more time, being more committed, doing radical things, starting new things, even starting the circle. That's risky. Is this going to be something that the girls are going to like? Or they're going to be like, that's a risk, but I think it's been great. We want to do a lot more of those things into the new year. Is fear holding us back? And I think next, as Jesus was leaving, the man, dressed in his right mind, this is a new life for him, right? Well, guess where he wants to go? He wants to go with Jesus, and rightly so. I think I would want to go with Jesus too. It's like, okay, this man just healed me, and this feels so great, and I want to be with this man, right? So he asked Jesus, can I go with you? And what Jesus say? Nope, you can't go with me. And so, and what he told him, instead, what you need to do is you need to go back to your family. So you had a family, and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. It says, then the man went away and spread the message of Jesus to the Decapolis. And if you remember, the Decapolis is 10 cities, ladies. So this man spread the message out, and it went to 10 cities. And what was the response to them, or to him? It says they were amazed. So these people, as they heard about this man's changed life and the mercy, they were amazed. And the Bema podcast, actually, I have mentioned that a few times. This is a really good podcast. It comes from like a Jewish perspective. But then this is what I learned from this. It says that Jesus only came to the region 2 times, over there in this area. And the first time was to heal this man. And the second time was the feeding of the 4,000. And what's interesting about this is that when Jesus crossed back over to this region, this region of the Gerasenes, the Decapolis, all these cities, there were 4,000 men, but their wives and children. So it was way, way more. That many of people came out to meet him. So what does that mean? That means that this man had a great impact, that when Jesus came back over, thousands came out to meet him. And I just thought that was so incredible. Wow. And so basically, God saw this man cutting himself, crying out, demon possessed man. God had a vision for this man. I mean, think about that. I mean, his story has impacted thousands of people. Jesus crossed over there for a purpose. 100 years later, I guess this land became Christianized. That's what it says in the Bema podcast. This is an amazing story. So it doesn't matter who we are. We could be a crazy person, but God can use us in a powerful, powerful way to impact thousands. I really believe in heaven. We're going to get to heaven and we are going to be shocked about people that maybe we met and studied the Bible with, and they met and they met and they met and they met. We have no clue, of all the people that we could have impacted. Or you might have just said something about Jesus, which led someone to seek out Jesus and them impact that person. I just think that could be such a surprise and such a celebration, when we get to heaven one day. So what's the message? One is Jesus goes to the other side, to the outcasts, to the unclean. He loves us all the same, individually, specifically. He loves us all. He does not judge. But we should never judge people by what they look like, the level of education that they have, or if they smell. We should never judge. We should never judge. Jesus never judged. Secondly, that our pain and our tears move him. Not one tear is missed. Cry out to God. If you're in pain, you're frustrated, cry out to him. A lot of people might not see you or know that you're hurting, but he does. Thirdly, that Jesus can miraculously heal anyone. You've got a legion of demons living inside of you. That's a very extreme situation, right? I believe that's extreme just to show you how, what a great miracle he can do. That you can go from that to being normal, but then also, to do great things. And then the fourth one was that he has much bigger plans. He had a much bigger plan for this one man. And lots of times we go through challenging times, ladies, because he has a bigger plan for us. We go through very painful times sometimes, whether it's broken, family relationships or illnesses or death, terrible, losing a child, just terrible things. We can go through very extreme, gut-wrenching things that we feel like I'm done. But yet God can use that in the most powerful way. You will be able to minister to someone that I wouldn't be able to minister to, because you've been there. You've walked in the shoes. You walked in the valley, the shadow of death. And God's going to use you in a more powerful way. So I think let us just think about these things and learn. But as we go to the breakout rooms, I think just think about the different points. Are we willing to go to the other side? Are we crying out to God? Are we being vulnerable? Do we believe Jesus can miraculously use us and change us? Whatever you're trying to change. And just, do we believe that he has a bigger plan for our lives. So that's all for today. Thank you.